Hi, I'm Representative Alana Rubel, the House Democratic leader, and this is a Democratic Debrief where we fill you in on what's happening in your state government this week. Quite a bit happening. Things are really speeding up down here. Voting suppression, unfortunately, has really gained some steam. These bills are now starting to make their way. I believe Monday morning, probably the House is going to be voting on House Bill 547, which is a bill that concerns me a great deal. It makes it a felony to deliver somebody's ballot for them and to help them drop it off at a drop-off place. We got a letter today from the Disability Council opposing this on behalf of people with disabilities who often need help getting their ballot delivered. I'm also concerned on behalf of elderly folks who might have mobility problems, people living on tribal reservations. It really has, I think, a powerful voting suppressive effect on those who need help getting their ballot dropped off. So we will be voting against that. 549, you've probably heard about. That's the one that would end same-day registration, would make it so that you can't register using a student ID to vote, but you can register using a concealed carry permit. Wonder where they're still trying to steer votes there. That one is still in committee. We're not sure what's happening to it. I think it might get amended, but in whatever form it emerges, I think it will probably need our fervent opposition because it will be really bad for enabling people in our state to easily register and vote. Other things that happened this week, House Bill 531 passed, the monuments bill that banned local government from changing the names of or removing or moving any monuments in their committee or renaming anything of historical significance in their community without getting the permission first of the Idaho State Historical Society. We all voted against this as a serious infringement of local control. I wish that the Republican Party would return to its roots. They once upon a time claimed to be supporters of local control. That has all changed. We see bill after bill trying to strip power away from local communities in terms of making their own decisions. But that is through the House on its way to the Senate. The militia bill passed Transportation Committee and is now going to be voted on perhaps as early as Monday morning. This is the one that strips out the section of code that would ban private, quote, unorganized militias from forming and from stopping cities from forming their own militias. This is of concern because there's some pretty small cities. You have cities that are, 75 people in Idaho, and it wouldn't take much for them to be taken over by some extremists and basically be able to form their own army. So we're concerned about stripping out of code that section that would protect us from that happening. So I anticipate the Democrats will likely be voting against that. We did vote against it in committee. That's going to be hitting the floor early next week. So that's, again, House Bill 475 if you want to voice your opposition to it. It's too late for House committee, but you can speak against it in Senate committee when it gets there. There was another one that went through that we all were happy about on school bonds. That was House Bill 512. That limited the number of times that you could bring school bond elections. Now, school bonds elections, of course, are for school facilities. Our school facilities are in deep trouble in Idaho. They need over $800 million in repair just to get up to adequate condition. So we were concerned about anything that makes it harder for school districts to get the funds they need to repair their school facilities. There's one coming next week also to keep your eye on. It's a bill that would increase the sales tax to 8% and eliminate owner-occupied property tax. Now, we want property tax as much or more than the next person, but not at the expense of jacking up the sales tax to 8%. That would really have very regressive effect. Sales tax is the most regressive tax there is out there in terms of being most disproportionately paid by low-income people. So that is of concern. We'll probably be calling on you to help us oppose that. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend and look forward to talking to you next week.
Hi, I'm Senator Melissa Wintrow. I represent Boise's District 19, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Senate here in the Idaho State House. Well, I'm actually happy to report not a lot, and that actually means a lot after last session. We did have one great resolution that passed off the Senate floor today and is on its way to the governor's desk, and that's Senator Nelson's bill that he worked with on the Behavioral Health Council to recognize the importance of adverse childhood experiences and to encourage teachers and other educators to understand the impacts of trauma on kids. And that really matters because when kids come to school or they're in any area, it's better to ask the question, hey, what happened, not what's wrong. And this bill really raises our awareness about the impacts of that trauma in our childhood and how we can work to prevent and to help so it doesn't have long-lasting effects. Great resolution, great teamwork, and great bipartisan support. Well, since there's not a ton going on, I will tell you about the bills that I've actually gotten off the Senate floor. I think you might remember we actually passed a bill to remove racist language from property deeds and covenants. Again, it doesn't wipe out decades long of discrimination and institutional racism, but it does give us a starting point to acknowledge the bad history of redlining in our country. And, regardless, we may not be responsible for the past, but we're responsible for now and making the future better. And I'm very happy. I have 2 bills are going to be heard on Tuesday. They've been lingering on the calendar, but one is to do a little bit of property tax relief for those in-home care providers, folks who have their homes certified to care for individuals with physical and developmental disabilities. Right now, this bill would just not count the Medicaid reimbursement that goes toward their income, so they could actually apply for Circuit Breaker, which is our property tax relief program. Big, big deal to help folks who are working very hard around the clock. The other bill, I think it's up the 5th year in a row, 5th time's a charm, is to provide increased access to contraception, that prescribed medication that is so important. We hope that passes off the Senate floor. It's merely to allow folks to get their prescribed contraception beyond 3 months, up to 6 months at a time, to help with the workforce shortage in the pharmacy so people can actually get their prescription on time. With that, I'm hoping, one last bill. I did introduce a bill to provide protections for communication when victims go to a domestic or sexual violence shelter. It's already federal law that you should protect that communication, so I want to align state and federal law to make sure that our folks who go for help, that communication is confidential and will not be subpoenaed. And I always try to do a bill every year to help victims and survivors of assault. So with that, wish us luck in the Senate next week. It is getting busy, and there are some really bad bills coming. In particular, one that came out of State Affairs that basically blocks all access for a woman to get an abortion beyond 6 weeks, when most folks know they're pregnant anyway. So there's some really ugly things coming, but for now, a little bit of good news.
Hi, I'm Representative Lauren Necochea, representing District 19, and I want to share with you something that's going on property taxes. Last year, Republicans passed a hastily put together bill that is poised to kick 2,000 Idaho seniors who are low income out of the property tax reduction program. This was never a good idea, and I debated against it fiercely. What the bill did is it said, no matter how low your income is, if your house is above a certain value, you're being cut from the program. And we've just seen too many seniors who want to age in place and stay in their house with dignity, have housing prices rise all around them. And so even a modest house can have a rising price valuation. The Senate passed a bill to try to get most of the seniors back into the program, and the House passed a bill that was not quite as good to help lessen the problem, the big problem that created. These are both partial solutions, but unfortunately we're seeing neither of them move. Both the House and the Senate seem to be stubbornly sticking to their version of the bill, and we're not seeing anything move forward. Seniors are already applying for this program right now and through April, and they won't know if they're going to be able to get the assistance they need or not. So I'm really hopeful that something will move, and either the House or Senate will agree to hear the other bill, because it's just not right that seniors can't age in place and stay in their homes, and they're being driven out by property taxes.
Hi everyone, I'm Representative Sally Toon, District 26, which represents Blaine, Lincoln, Gooding, and Camas counties. What a busy week we've had. As most of you know, I'm an educator. Exciting news this week. We had a print hearing and a bill hearing for Senate Bill 1290, which is the Rural Educator Loan Incentive Program for our rural and underserved districts. This has been a passion of mine for 6 years. We want to help teachers make it in our rural and underserved districts. We know teachers in those schools wear many hats, and this is one thing off their plates because we know that teachers are leaving the profession after accruing debt, mostly from our rural districts. Our retention rate is 84% for our educators, and it's worse in our rural districts. In a few of our districts, it's dropped down to 50% is all that's stuck around. I want to say this is so exciting. What it is, we know we're going to give a little bit of an incentive program to keep them in our rural districts. 1 year, you'll get $1,500 to help out. And eventually, if you stay there for 4 years, we can help you with $4,500 of your student debt. But here's what's exciting. The incentive program is just not for student debt. It's to help our rural schools, underserved schools, to get teachers with additional certification. It will help with advanced degrees. It'll help with unique programs that if a school district wants a teacher to be certified in a special area, reading, math certifications. This allows, has to be over $1,000, but this allows our certified quality teachers a little incentive to help our rural schools.